Let's transition back to LSU football. Been a week of camp. They practice today. They'll take tomorrow off. We'll have an opportunity to go out to practice on Friday. Then Saturday, I just got the email from Michael Bonnet that gives us the time, which is 9:45, and the availability, which will be all of practice. Brian Kelly did say in the press conference that they're going to treat Saturdays as their scrimmage day. So I'm assuming it's a scrimmage setting for Saturday on the practice field, not inside Tiger Stadium. I'm putting two and two together there. I haven't gotten that email, but I think that's exactly what we're going to get on Saturday. So it's early, very early. But I did a piece for LouisianaSports.net earlier today. It was kind of a lunchtime read, put it out 2.5 hours ago, talking about my three top performers of the first week of camp. And I have some honorable mentions here that I'll mention before we get into the three that I actually named on the website. Certainly want to give Jack Pyburn an honorable mention. I didn't list him in the top three, but that's a guy who has shown versatility to play inside and outside, showed a great pass rush move I'm trying to keep my days straight. Great pass rush move in Tuesday's practice. It was yesterday, where he took Tyree Adams a little bit high and then spun up underneath him and got a sack of Garrett Nussmeier. That was really encouraging move because, as we talked about with Pyburn, that's a guy who's proven as a run blocker, run stuffer, but has not proven himself as a pass rusher. 1 sack in his 3 years at Florida. So that was new. And we talked to Pyburn in the spring, and I loved the conversation we had with him. He was talking about how he's been working with Kevin Peoples, and they've got so many pass rush moves that he's been working on. He literally walks around his kitchen table and does pass rush moves. And I think that shows he's determined, he wants to be better, and he's making strides in that direction. So I saw that with the move he made back on Tuesday. So I want to give Pyburn a shout out. He's honorable mention. Kyle Parker is honorable mention for me. Absolutely. He is catching everything in sight. I think he's getting some extra run, specifically with the ones, because Aaron Anderson's not out there. And both of those guys are a little bit on the shorter side. Both those guys can really run routes. And neither of them is, a guy that's going to go up and make a ton of plays over the top, is not going to be a physical receiver, but certainly can create space out of the slot and make some catches in the intermediate passing game. So that's a huge encouraging thing for Parker. I think he's done a really good job. So those two guys I would absolutely give an honorable mention to as far as standouts early in practice. I think Perkins is, and interestingly, they're all P's. That's Pyburn, Parker, and Perkins. Harold Perkins deserves a hat tip for the work that he's put in as well. He's done an excellent job of adapting to that star role, of playing fast despite the injury. I've enjoyed watching him. So those are three honorable mentions. But the three guys that I listed for LouisianaSports.net, I've actually talked a little bit about on the show, but wanted to kind of set this aside as a full segment. I have been really impressed with Kaden Durham. And that is with the understanding that at times there's nowhere for him to run. But when there is somewhere for him to run, he's hitting the hole fast. He's making big plays every single day. And I think that he's primed for a big year. I'm in Jake's camp for that. I would suggest you as the listener probably take his word for the running back stuff over mine, just a hunch on that. But I'm agreeing with him, so you can take both of our words on this one. I think Durham's going to be awesome. When you look at Caden Durham out on the practice field, you see a shorter player, but you also see one that is incredibly well put together. And there have been plenty of running backs under 6 feet that have been great players. And Caden's significantly under 6 feet, but he's shifty, he's solid, and he's got great home run breakaway speed. The one thing that I'm looking forward to with Durham this year, and we'll find out at some point. I can't tell you if it's at Clemson. I hope it is. Can't tell you if it's against Louisiana Tech. It probably is. Maybe week 4, Southeastern. I don't know when it's going to happen. But he's going to break free at some point. And I would really prefer it if he didn't get run down. South Alabama caught him on the running play. He scored on the swing route out to him. He scored on that, the first play from scrimmage. Then the second play LSU had, he got a handoff and took it, and they ran him down. He also got run down in Bama game when he busted off the right side, and they ran him down. But I'd really prefer that not happen anymore, and I think it's possible. We know he's a track guy at Duncanville. We know he's a home run hitter in high school. We know how fast he is. I think last year the dislocated toes may have adversely affected his speed once that injury set in. He had the plate in his shoe and his cleat, but I think he's going to be an awesome back for LSU this year. So he was one of my guys. The second one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because y'all already know, but I have to mention it just because I would be completely remiss if I didn't. Bernard Gooden's been awesome, and I expect him to be a difference maker on this defense with the way that he can attack from the inside. When I look back at LSU's defensive interior the last few years, Mekhi Wingo's a good player, all-league player, got some All-American honors. Yeah, Mason Smith, huge talent. Productivity, has made an NFL roster and doing well. Jaquelin Roy, drafted by the Patriots, made an NFL roster. You've had some guys with some talent, but your depth has been bad, and you haven't been a playmaking group on the interior. Last year, you had to duct tape it together with Gio Paez, and Paris Shan had to kick down, and Guillory was out, so you had to throw Bro in there, and he started games, and McKinley had to play late, and it was just kind of a mess, and Bo Davis kind of did what he could. But you got a situation where you've restocked the shelves, you've got talent, you've got depth. So not only should Gooden be able to be effective as a quick interior disruptor, but also you don't have to play him too many snaps, and you can put him out there when he's ideally needed. So he can be out there fresh for those pass rush snaps. You want to bring him out when you get into some short yardage type stuff, or want to sub Jacoby and Guillory can go in there and hold his point of attack. So can Don McKinley. And then when it comes in and it's 3rd and 8, and they're subbing in a couple wide receivers, and you get to sub, bring Gooden back in there and let him get up the field. Kick Jack Pyburn down inside, have those guys attack in the middle with Patrick Payton and Gabe Relaford on the outside with Perkins. You line up at the line of scrimmage, and it's 3rd and 9, and you got Perk on the outside, Payton inside him, Pyburn and Gooden on the inside, and Relaford on the other end. That's a problem. That's a problem as far as the pass rush goes. And it's hard to find guys that can rush the passer from the interior. You can find edge rushers. They're there. There are a lot of guys that are 6'4", 6'5", and can run a little bit with long arms. It's hard to find guys that are north of 285 pounds that can take that traffic jam with a center, a guard, a center, another tackle, and then maybe a blitz. There's 5 guys occupying very little space and can find room and get up there and make a play through blockers. Maybe Gooden is that guy, and certainly he showed out, and you've heard about him a lot at this point, and are probably sick of hearing about him at this point. And the last guy I highlighted yesterday at the tail end of the segment, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time doing that for a second day. If you listen every day, all day, you've already heard this, and I appreciate you. If you missed this yesterday, just leaning in today, Ashton Stamps has been great. And I gave this speech yesterday, but I wanted to kind of bring it full circle today. I did not have huge hopes for Ashton Stamps entering fall camp. I thought he'd be a starter. I thought he'd be serviceable. I thought he'd probably be what he's been for 2 years. Because he's been a starter for 2 years. He's been serviceable. He doesn't have an interception. He doesn't remind me of Patrick Peterson. He doesn't remind me of Derek Stingley. He doesn't remind me of Corey Webster. But he's out there, and he's starting. And I'm watching a lot of 7-on-7. You've heard me a couple times say, when Matt goes and watches the one-on-ones with the offensive line, defensive line, I'm watching 7-on-7. And LSU's making some plays in 7-on-7 on the defensive side, which they haven't really done for 2 years. And Ashton Stamps has been a big part of that. Ashton Stamps has won some one-on-ones, which for 2 years, no DB won a one-on-one. Now, that is a massively skewed drill to the offense. We know that. But it didn't happen for 2 years. Ashton Stamps has won some of those. Now, he's gotten beat. First day of practice, Barian Brown got him over the top. But the next snap, they went to a fade back pylon, and Ashton Stamps went up there and broke it up. This is something that I talk about in every sport. And it's less relevant today than it was 6-7 years ago, but there's still truth in it. When you are thrust onto the field as a freshman, especially when you're thrust onto the field as a freshman in 2023, when those COVID seniors are all over the place, you are 18 or 19 years old playing against a lot of 23-year-olds. That is a big freaking deal. Like in high school, the difference between a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old is massive. And in college, the difference between a 19-year-old and a 23-year-old is massive. And finally, as those COVID seniors age out and Ashton Stamps ages upward, now he is one of the oldest players on the field. Now he has put some muscle weight on. Now he has 2 years of experience playing against the SEC. It just stands to reason all of those factors shift towards him being a more impactful player. And I don't know if his interception total is going to go from 0 to 4 this year. I certainly hope it does. But I will tell you that just going to practice and watching him, the other DBs as well. I talked about this yesterday a lot. But him, more so to me, to my eye, than everybody else, he is making plays on the ball. And that is something you have to have. Line of scrimmage is vital. Quarterback is unbelievably important. But you can't win in this era of college football if you can't cover. And to me, when LSU was needed to cover the last couple of years, especially in season openers, they just couldn't. They couldn't stop Jordan Travis. They couldn't stop Miller Moss in the second half. They couldn't cover. You have to cover. Last year, DJ Lagway got him for some big plays. He couldn't run. He had one leg. But they got beat in the secondary. And I'm not trying to pin all these losses on Ashton Stamps. Far from it. He was the second best corner of the team last year behind Zai, who was hurt for some of the season. Not his fault. It's a talent level fault on LSU's roster. That's starting to rectify itself. That's something we talked about a lot with what Corey Raymond is doing. So to me, Ashton Stamps absolutely been a standout through a week of practice. The three guys I recognized on LouisianaSports.net, Bernard Gooden, Caden Durham, and Ashton Stamps. I think they've been fantastic. Hat tip, some honorable mention with Jack Pyburn, Kyle Parker, and Harold Perkins. Not that those are the only 6 guys who have made plays, but those are the guys that I wanted to highlight on today's show. So hat tip to those guys. We'll see them back out there on Friday as a media. They'll take tomorrow off for a recovery day. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.